Hey everybody, this is All Things Cheryl here with another video, and of course I had let you guys know this is my little humble studio. This is where I live. This is where I do this is where I do everything. And I'm here with another video, and I'm here to do the review and recap of Queen Sugar. Ava, I feel like I want to win. I feel like I want to windmill you. You know what windmill means, like, okay? And I'll tell you later. I'll tell you later. Woo, guys, let me tell you. I don't know what's going on with Ava and them over there in that studio, but it has been on and popping. And we're just in episode 5. And I just feel like I want to just grab all of the writers and just stop. But it's good. It's on and popping. Hey everybody, this is All Things Cheryl here with another review and another recap of Queen Sugar episode 5 of season 4. And so I wrote my notes, so give me time. And we start out and we see that Nova. Now we need to pay very close attention. But before I get into this, subscribe, click, watch, hit the bell and notification so you can click, know when I get ready to come up with my next video. Okay, we got that out of the way. Nova. Nova is basically in New York, and she is getting ready to prepare to do the promotion on this book tour. But early in the morning, Nova is having dreams. And these dreams are her mother is coming to her, and basically coming to her 3 times. And what Nova has been doing with these dreams that she's receiving from her mother, she's basically been recording them so she can remember that the fact that her mother is coming to her in her dreams. Now, some of you all who are into astrology and who are into interpreting dreams and know that we do get messages and signals, and our loved ones have a tendency of showing up in dreams and trying to, let us know what's going on. And it's also a way where the universe, the spiritual realm, talks to us. So I need for you guys to basically pay close attention to these dreams that Nova having, and the fact that her mother came to her the 3rd time, and this 3rd time she came to her while she was on the land. So we see that Nova is having issues and challenges with the fact that she keep getting dreams coming from her mother. You have to excuse me, guys. I have to take care of these notes. Okay. And so now, Ramy. Wow. It seems that Ramy is getting ready to leave town, guys. Ramy is getting ready to leave town, and I'm saying sayonara to you. Hey, it is what it is, Ramy. Unfortunately, you weren't able to find love by way of Charley nor Nova. And actually, we were beginning to have a distaste for you due to the fact that you were having feelings for Nova, Charlie's sister. And in the black culture, I don't know about the white culture, but I know for the black culture, that's basically a no-no. So we see that Remy has went to the Pies restaurant and letting Hollywood and Aunt B know what's going on. And he sits down with Hollywood and he has a conversation with Hollywood. And he tells Hollywood that this is basically no longer his home. It was his home when he first met his wife, and somewhat it still is his home, but he can't seem to find love. And so, since he can't seem to find love, he wants to just kind of sort of move on. So I'm assuming what's going on with the writers, they have basically wrote him and bye-bye. But I don't think so, because when he was getting ready to go, and Violet says, well, don't be a stranger. So that means that he probably will pop up from time to time, probably not as a main character, although we know he was kind of sort of a main character, but he's no longer a main character. So we know that he lets Hollywood knows that he's leaving, and he wants Hollywood to basically tell Charlie and Nova that he's moving on. And I'm like, okay, but do they need to know that you're moving on? Okay, just move on. Do you gotta let them know that you're moving on? Do they care? Do they even care? And the point is, do Charlie even care? Charlie is basically hanging out with Romero. She's got this thing with Romero. But anyway, while we dealing with Remy, and he's saying that he's getting ready to roll out, he's getting ready to go somewhere else where he might be able to find love, we see that Charlie is basically in her office, doing her thing, and basically she gets a FaceTime from Davis. And basically, Davis is basically highly upset. The reason why he's highly upset is that the fact that since Nova has written this book, and people are beginning to, notice and beginning to read it, and they're beginning to intake all of the things that, basically the borderline or whatever Nova has written in the book. So Davis is getting protesters on the college campus as to where he is going to be taking up, I guess, what do they call it? He's going to be a professional. He's going to be a teacher teaching something, probably basketball and whatever. So he's calling Charlie up in an upraise, asking Charlie if she could fix it. Okay, Olivia Pope. He calls Olivia Pope to Charlie to fix the situation. And so basically, Charlie outright tells Davis, she says, look, I don't really want to be seen with you. So basically what you can do is, come over and maybe we can talk about it. Okay, so we get on and we see that. Then we see, basically, we see that Blue, we're going to deal with Blue, and we're going to deal with Dala for just a brief second. And that's why I'm saying, well, anyway, we see Blue and Ralph Angel. Ralph Angel is basically at the door, knocking at the door, and Blue is sitting down. I guess he's studying or doing something, and he comes to the door, and he peeks out of the curtain, and he sees it is his papa. So he opens up the door. Ralph Angel says, why are you opening up the door? And Blue says, well, my mom says if I look out the window and see that it's you, that I could basically open up the door. So Blue's open up the door, and Blue go on to explain to his papa that his mama, Dala, is basically still asleep, and Dala told Blue that she was basically tired, and so Blue basically conveyed the message that she was tied to she was tied to Ralph Angel. And so Blue had noticed that Ralph Angel had some colognes or whatever. And so Blue said, well, what's that smell, Pop? What's that smell? And so Ralph Angel tells Blue that he has an important appointment. Excuse me, God. He has an appointment, important. Let me stop messing with my head. He has an appointment with. He has an appointment. And so Blue goes on into explaining that the fact that his mother didn't really get up with him to help him dress, but basically he dressed himself. And so Ralph Angel and Blue, Ralph Angel takes Blue to school. And so when we find out, okay, Ralph Angel takes Blue to school. Then we see another scene where we see that, you guys have to excuse me, I've got to get all these nuts together. We know that Blue is at school. And Dala is basically, then we see a scene, excuse me, we see a scene where Dala finally wakes up after Blue has gone to school. And she's, basically saying this prayer. And she's saying this prayer is to help her to basically get through, what's going on with the fact that Nova has basically written about her, and she's still highly upset, and because she's in bed. And so we see her take the hard copy of Blood and a Blessing and throw it over there, and I think it might have hit the trash can, or it might have went into the trash can. So we know that Dala is really having some issues and challenges. So far she's handling it very, very well, due to the fact she hasn't set back, and she hasn't, grabbed anything to numb the pain. When I say numb the pain, she hasn't, picked up any booze, or she hasn't, act out through other ways and means. So she's, in my view, she's handling it so far so good for right now. And so then we go on and we see see Nova. Nova is basically sitting and promoting this book, her Blood and Blessing book. And then this is where we get to meet the Dr. Octavia. I'm going to say Octavia, right? And so we see that Octavia starts to questioning Nova, the issues and the intent, and the fact that there was no statistics on the book. And so basically Nova goes in and she says, well, this is my memoirs of my family. There is no such a thing, and there's a few statistics on memoirs. And this is where we see Dr. Octavia, or Professor Octavia, goes in on Nova again. Now, this is where it gets very interesting. It gets interesting to the fact that we find out later on. Let me just get Nova's stuff out of the way. We find out that later on, Dr. Octavia and Nova have history. And I'm not talking about just a student and a professor history. I'm talking about they had history, sexual history. They were lovers at one time. And so we go on, while we go on, we find out the reason why the professor was so, I'm going to say, hostile towards Nova is because Nova did not put her in the book the way she felt that Nova should have put her in the book. She was upset and jealous due to the fact that Nova only mentioned one line. One lie, guys. One lie. She was so upset at the fact that Nova didn't mention her. She wanted her to mention her more so. She kept saying that I had high hopes for you. And Noble was like, is that the reason why you tried to embarrass me? You tried to ridicule me? Because early in the day, Noble went to confront the professor as to why she tried to embarrass her. And at that time, the professor, was basically having a seminar with a couple of her students, and they were talking about, and they were dissecting the book. And so this is when the professor was calling the bluff to Nova, and she told Nova she never knew that Nova would basically back down. And so this is when we find out they had history, right? And then later on in the scene, we see where it is that Nova and the professor were in bed. We see that Nova and the professor, especially the professor, got very passionate with Nova, and Nova got very passionate with the professor. And Nova, I guess, needed, and she couldn't turn it down. She couldn't turn it away. And I find it was very funny at a point where each one of them was talking about who can make who call each other's name. And I was like, what going on? Okay. And so we see a passionate sexual love going on between the professor and Nova. Now, I had some sense that when they brought Chantel back into the fold in episode 4, that Nova was going to be having some encounter with her bisexuality, because we know that Nova is a bisexual woman. And they brought that back into the fold, and then sure enough, Nova had an encounter with her professor. Now we go on and we see that after the encounter of the professor, we go on and we see that Aunt Violet and Hollywood. Aunt Violet and Hollywood basically had been invited to cater a reprise. In other words, a funeral. Earlier in the scene, we saw in the restaurant, Prosperous was talking about one of his friends who was basically a saxophone player, had basically passed on. And so Hollywood and Violet had been invited to cater the repast. And then this is when we began to have the conversation with Hollywood and Aunt Violet. And so Aunt Violet finally broke down and let Hollywood know that she still basically had fear. She still had fear due to the fact that Jimmy Dean was basically coming in and disrupted her peace. And by him disrupting her peace, basically brought that fear within her, brought it back up. Now we know that fear can basically hold you back in a lot of things. And if you let this fear control you, it will do a lot of things. Now, it's very good due to the fact that we know that Aunt Violet has been suffering with a chronic illness, and that chronic illness so far has not flared up. Not to say that it won't, but it will, if she keeps holding in all of this fear and all of this anger due to the fact that her niece wrote about, a lot of things that basically went on in her past. And if she holds it in, she's going to have a flare up. And we're hoping that writers don't let her have a flare up, because we know you guys get in there and say, okay, let's have it. No, don't do that. Let her deal with it and let her gather her strength so she can deal with what's going on, because we're going to need her later on, because this is just episode 5. So we're going to be needing everybody to be at her best, to be able to deal with what is about to come through, because we only on episode 5 and you guys came out rocking. So we need her to be healthy. And so this is when Aunt Violet tells Hollywood that um, she's willing and she's trying to deal with her fear, as long as Hollywood is basically beside her to be able to deal with this fear. And so this is when Hollywood, tells his wife that he is basically is there to protect her, and that he understands the fact that he can't really tell her how to deal with the fear, but the only thing that he can do is basically be there for her to deal with whatever else that she's had to deal with when it comes to, her and her anxiety and the fear. But let me tell you guys, fear can get you and fear can wipe you out, because as far as for me concerning, I've been dealing with my channel for a very, very long time. And when I say a very long time, I mean a long time. And I was very scared, very fearful of how I'm going to get people to look at my channel. I didn't know exactly what to do with my channel. I didn't know if I should stop doing my channel. I didn't know, how I needed to look with my channel. And I'm just like frozen. I really didn't want to do social media. I didn't want to do my Facebook. I didn't really want to share my YouTube channel and let people know that I had a YouTube channel and all of the other social media platforms, because of the fear and because of the anxiety that I, somewhat deal with. But now I'm beginning to a little bit come out of my shell a little bit. So, and then we go on and we see that Aunt Violet is, willing to deal with it, but she's still angry at Noah, due to the fact that she wrote all of this. And I'm going to say another thing. Forgiveness is the biggest key. Once you learn how to forgive and to let go, a lot of things will open up. So we go on and we see that Ralph Angel. Ralph Angel is basically on a date, another date. And I'm going to call her Dark Chocolate. Beautiful Dark Chocolate. And Ralph Angel is with her. And Ralph Angel is being a seriously romantic man. And the fact that he has like a picnic basket, and he bought dark chocolate, some flowers, and they're sitting there, and she really likes him and he really likes her. They are both into each other. You can basically see that chemistry, that energy, and the mixture of the complexion. The cinematography with Queen Sugar is wonderful. It's wonderful. I like how they blend their colors together when it comes to showing emotion and different colors. But anyway, I divest sometimes, but I'll get back to the subject. And so we see that Ralph Angel gets a call. And Dark Chocolate was basically bending over to give Ralph Angel a kiss. This is when Ralph Angel gets a call. And then this is when we find out that Ralph Angel has to leave. Now, this is where I said, I need to windmill Ava DuVernay. Ava, I had a feeling, I wasn't quite sure. On one hand, I thought it might have been Dark Chocolate's daughter, because remember, she has a daughter, and her daughter's a little bit aggressive. So I was like, oh, shoot. Is the daughter going to find out that Ralph Angel is not Blue's biological father? But no. And thank goodness it wasn't. I'm glad that did not happen, because that would have brought some conflict between Ralph Angel and her. So, but Ava and Oprah, I need to save up all of my money when I do get some money and come to see you guys, because I want to windmill you. We find and we see a scene where the little boy's name, I believe the little boy's name is Micha. I think the little boy's name is Mark. I'm not quite sure. But anyway, Blue finds out on the playground, sliding down the sliding board. And one of his friends who he has befriended let Blue know that he did a great job in the spelling bee. And so this is when Blue says, well, my dad basically helped me with my spelling and everything. And then this is when the blow came through. Ava. But anyway, you got a story to tell. And you want to make sure we hang on to every minute, every dime, and every word. And you all are doing a wonderful job, but we want to windmill you. we want to build. We want to build. We want to windmill you because we bad. That Blue had to find out this way. And we understand, and adults need to understand that when it comes to children, that we have to be very, very careful, and we have to be very, very mindful of what we're saying and making sure that they're nowhere behind listening. It's because their little ears be like listening, and they'll go back and assimilate it, and they'll go back and tell their little friends. And then their little friends will go back and tell their little friends. And so this is how basically Blue learns that Ralph Angel is not the father. Now, you would have thought that this was the last scene for Queen Sugar, but no. This is just episode 5, right? Episode 5. And so we go on and we see that something else that is really kind of getting to me. What's getting to me is that we see that ISIS comes through the clinic where Charley and Romero has basically started for immigrants and illegal, citizens. I'm going to call them citizens. ISIS come through, break through, and they started asking for IDs and passports and a whole bunch of BS, right? And I got pissed off because really the theory that this is what's happening in society and right now as I do this review. We have children and family in concentration camps being detained. Because why? It's because some have come over to make a better life for themselves and for their families. And we also find out that one of Charley's best workers basically got detained and will be contained, and that his youngest son was with him. And so Charley tells one of her workers that she's going to try to get him a lawyer. And the fact that then we go on and we find out, Charley finds out that the only reason why ISIS came through the clinic was that somebody called them and they got a tip. And that's how the clinic got raided. And we go on and Charley goes on and find out that she thinks it was the Landrins, but it wasn't. with the one of the cops who ISIS told her that it wasn't. And he goes on and tells Charlie that she has basically made enemies due to the fact that they stopped that prison. They were very, very upset that they stopped that prison. And he goes on and he tells Charlie that you are a woman that is not liked. And so we go on, and this is when we go on and we see that Charlie calls the councilwoman who basically is stepping down from her position and allowing Jacob to take her position. Excuse me. Now, there's something kind of shady about the councilwoman. She's too freely with Charlie, saying and trying to get Charlie to run for the for that seat that Jacob is basically trying and going to run for. There's something shady about her. In my mind and in my view, in episode, or was it 2 and 3, when the diner was basically opening up and she came to give gifts to Aunt B in the diner. And then she talked about the fact that she was going to be stepping down. And this is when we find out that that councilman, in my mind, has been bored. They got to her and they bored her. And they got to her again. And the reason why I say this is because, in my mind, I'm thinking that she found out when she told Charlie that her investigator that Charlie is having found out, and that information got back to her. Now, how would that information got back to her, the investigator, got back to her, not less. I'm thinking in my mind, I might be wrong, but I'm thinking in my mind, I think from the very beginning when Charlie brought her in to start investigating everything that was basically going on within Delandria and whatever else was going on, I'm thinking that the investigator who's investigating all of this information and who's able to find out about what's going on with him a little bit too freely. A little bit too freely, because every time Charlie will call her up and ask her to do some digging, she always come up and she's always able to find that information that basically Charlie is looking for. So I believe that the investigator and plus the councilwoman, I think they are in together. If not, we need to find out who it is. And I'm sure we're going to find out who it is. Me personally, I don't think Charlie should run for it. Because Charlie can be very gullible at times. Especially when she's trying to, when she get into that Olivia Pope kind of move. And that's when she gets gullible and she slips. Now we go on. And we find out that Micha. Basically, Micha has gone to, I think he's in juvie, the young fellow who's taking the rap for them burning down the one of a landmark, a cabinet that got burnt down. What was it, last year, a year before last? And so he's taking the rap for them. And so basically, Micha goes and he visits him. And then Micha asks him exactly how's it going, how are you feeling? And he says he's basically doing his thing. He's basically doing more reading. He's basically doing more drawing. And then this is when Micha was starting to tell this young fellow that everything, especially all of the protests and everything that they were doing, was worthless. It was not, it was pointless. And then this is when the young guy says, look, don't even do this, don't even come here with all that sadness or anything, because it was really worth it. And basically what I want to do is basically I just want to do my time and I just don't want to come back here again. And then while Michael was basically at the juvie, he noticed that the young fellow had a tattoo. And so this is when we find out when Michael goes into the scene and he goes and he gets a tattoo. He gets the same tattoo that the young fellow is basically getting. I didn't write the name of it, but basically Michael gets the same tattoo that the young fellow who's doing the time for the young folks getting the tattoo. So the young woman is basically is doing the tattoo, who was the same woman who did the same young girl who did the tattoo for the young guy that's in jail. And so we go on, and I'm hoping that I'm not really missing something, because I try to make sure that, you know, you guys get everything. Okay. Okay, so we go on, and so this is when we find out that Davis. No, let me not forget this. After the conversation that Charlie and Davis had, basically Charlie told Davis that in order to stop that protest, that he needs to, you know, come up and then admit the fact that what happened or whatever would happen will probably go away in a couple of days or so. Now, this guy definitely had. Davis got goals. And he likes to put Michael in the center of everything. But after they got all this conversation, after Charlie kind of sort of did tell him what to do, and then David said, I kind of sort of I don't like what you're saying, but what you're saying is basically true. He had the audacity to try to get a kiss. And Charlie was like, whoa, no, 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 it ain't like that. It ain't, no, dude, it ain't like that. You need to kind of like, it is what it is. We got a son together. We got to raise the son, and that's all. It don't be no more. Forget all of that. And so we go on, and then this is where Ava, I'm gonna save up all of my money, because I know you're gonna do something at the end. Don't know what it is, but I'm gonna save up my money, my YouTube money, and I'm coming to see you. And I'm coming to I'm coming to will bill you. This scene right here, I mean, I've looked at episode 5 twice. And each time that I looked at this episode, the first time I cried. The first time I cried. The second time, I was on my way. So we see that Ralph Angel was on a picnic with Doc Chocolate. He had to step away from her to go see what was going on with his son. So basically, he gets there, and Dala opens up the door and tell Ralph Angel exactly what was going on. And she also told Ralph Angel that that Blue was in the bed and he was asleep. And she also said that she didn't know what to do, if, you know, what to say to Blue if he wakes up. So I guess that was a sign of, could you spend the night or would you spend the night? I don't know. It didn't get there. But finally, Blue woke up out of his sleep. And then this is where we see Dala, Ralph Angel, and Blue. And so this is where, oh my God, I can't remember it all, because it was like, this is when we find out that his friend, he said that his friend was very was very mean to him. And he said that his friend told him that Ralph Angel was not his father. And so this is when Ralph Angel says to Blue, like, I am your father. I may not be able to quote word after word, but he says, I am your father. He says, we may not have the same blood, but our heartbeats kind of similar, the same. And this is when he puts Blue's hands over his heart and says that I'm your father. He says, I chose you to be my son. And then this is when Blue says, well, you think you might choose someone else, you might choose a girl, or you might choose another boy. You may not want me for your son. And so, guys, I'm trying to get through this. And so this is when Ralph Angel says that my heart beats with yours, kind of sort of my heart beats with yours. And this is when he leans over and we see his mother. And then this is when Blue asks his mother. He says, are you my biological mother? And I was like, oh my God. And they knew that Blue were going to be asking these questions. And Dala says, yes, I am your biological mother. And I'm just going to kind of like leave it like that, and to let you know that this scene was a beautiful scene. I believe this scene, out of all of them, out of all of the scenes, what episode 5, this was the most beautiful, the most touching. Although there were a couple of other scenes that was very touching, but this one right here really tugs at the soul. The reason why I say it tugs is because there are a lot of mothers and fathers, especially within the Black community, that are and that have been raising young children that are not theirs, that have been non-biological mothers and fathers who basically raise the children as if they are their biological babies. And this is not new within the Black community when it comes to raising our children. We have always been what we call it an extended family. The extended family is that whenever a situation, although it gets really nasty and sticky, and sometimes it can get very challenging, and people do want to throw in the towel when it comes to children and raising other children. Well, one thing I will say and can say about the Black community is that, and although people, society makes it seem that we don't raise and teach our children, but that is not right. On the other hand, we do raise and teach our children. And we teach and we raise children that are not biologically ours, due to the fact that there are a lot of us who are very, very quiet and very secretive. In some sense, I can understand what Noah's talking about blood and secrets. Um, and we have been raising children all of our lives. And I will say with episode 5 and season 4, this is just episode 5. And let me tell you guys, this was the end. And they ended with Ralph Angel and Blue and Dala hugging and loving on each other. Till the next time, you know my mantra. My mantra is love is for everyone. Click, subscribe, hit the notification, and I will see you in another week, because they will not be on next week. And I will see you in another week. But Ava, I'm coming on to windmill you, because this is just episode. What the heck did you got going for us? Oh, anyway, peace, love.